It wasn't all smooth sailing for some of the vessels, particularly in the early stages. In the confusion, some sank, others collided, but the rest of the field got away to a good start at the regatta reach of the river. The boat sailed down to the city limits and back again 4 times in a keenly contested race, which featured Australian and world champions. The winner, Chesty, picked up $2,000 for just under an hour's work. Today's event was held as a curtain raiser to the World 18-foot Championships, which begin on Waterloo Bay tomorrow. Clinton Fletcher, ABC News.
Overseas once again now.
Place. Gusty winds and choppy seas made for spectacular sailing in today's third heat of the World 18-footers Championship on Waterloo Bay. Derek Adams of New South Wales in Lysart Colorbond was a surprise winner, beating Rob Brown in Bradmill by 19 seconds, with reigning world champion Peter Sorensen in Tia Maria a further 2 minutes behind. On the windward end of the line, Andrew Crisp of Western Australia in Task Force 87 won the start, with the patched-up Chesty of Trevor Barnabas second. Chesty was holed and lost her centreboard in a dramatic collision in Heat 2, which saw championship favourite Bradmill disqualified. Rob Brown enlarged Bradmill's spinnaker yesterday in an effort to improve the boat's downwind speed, and the way she surged forward on the second leg, it looked like the move was a success. Derek Adams of New South Wales in Lysart Colorbond was next around the mark, and the first 2 placings remained the same at the wing buoy. Dual world champion Peter Sorensen was having problems, and his spinnaker fouled on the downwind run, losing valuable time. Trevor Barnabas was going well, but at the wing mark, tragedy struck. As in the second heat, the centreboard went, the boat capsized, and the first heat winner was out of the race for the second time in succession. After the first lap of the triangular course, Colorbond led Bradmill, Task Force and Stubbies, and the order remained almost unchanged. The one change at the finish was significant. Peter Sorensen in Tia Maria jumped into 3rd place, giving him a handy lead in the series, which he's won for the past 2 years.
Reports that New South Wales skiffs continued their domination of the championship.
Task Force 87 was one of the best away from the start, along with the Brisbane entry, the professionals. The surprise was defending world champion Tia Maria from Sydney, which was struggling, obviously carrying too much sail in the early stages. National champion Bradmill was working her way through the fleet, going to the first mark. Skipper Rob Brown's attitude was, "Don't get angry, just get even," following his disqualification from Sunday's second heat. He was making his point at the first mark, where he led from Lysart Colorbond and Task Force 87. After spinnakers were set, Chesty, which was well back, was making rapid gains on the leaders. The skiff was flying along at 25 knots, gaining all the time. Minutes later, Chesty had come to grief once more. For the second successive race, her centreboard fin had broken. Bradmill was impressive going to the second mark, but Lysart Colorbond from Sydney wasn't letting her get away. Daring and skillful sailing by the Lysart crew saw them snatch the lead from Bradmill at the second mark. They were looking good for a win. They sailed magnificently from there and went away to give the series its 3rd different winner in as many races in this 4X World Championship. Bradmill was second and Tia Maria third. Rob Mundell, Eyewitness News.
Wales adopted desperate tactics on the second windward leg in a bid to slice into Tia Maria's break. But Sorensen is far too experienced a sailor to be caught napping. And on every leg today, he extended his lead, and in doing so took a strong grip on his 3rd straight world title. The only hope of a real challenger now rests on an appeal by Bradmill against his disqualification in the second heat.
Well, that's it for 7 Sport, and now Neville...
Skiff Championship. Today, series favourite Bradmill has arrived, measuring as always 18 feet long, but now, using the old language, an incredible 30 feet wide. The outriggers, or wings, are to give the crew more leverage against the huge press of sail these boats carry. When the race started, skipper Rob Brown hoped the modifications would turbocharge Bradmill, but that wasn't to be. Most competitors were caught with too little sail in the fading southeasterly. Many of the fancies in this 4X World Championship were faltering on the first leg of the course. But defending world champ Tia Maria was in overdrive. Skipper Peter Sorensen had guided his skiff to what looked like a race-winning lead by the first mark, ahead of Lysart Colorbond WA, Task Force 87 and Prime Computer. Bradmill rounded the first mark in 11th place, a shock for Brown and his crew. The fleet set out after Tia Maria, but had no answer to the world champion speed. Sorensen and his team were flying. It was bow on bow racing for this group until Lysart Colorbond Queensland came to grief. Down she went. Tia Maria shut the gate on her rivals on the second windward beat. She went on to score a 6-minute win over Task Force 87. Bradmill went looking for the doctor and her troubles were cured. She came home third. Rob Mundell.
$100,000. Its aerodynamic shape and extensive use of light but super strong carbon fibre were expected to create the same effect as Ben Lexon's wing keel. But in the first heat she was beaten by Colorbond Queensland, a 3-year-old boat thought by her skipper to be worth perhaps $8,000. Lysart Colorbond might give you a $250,000 boat if you beat Kevin Nixon in the series.
Well, we certainly hope so.
So there was an extra element of rivalry today as the two Colorbonds started Heat 3 next to each other, and at the first mark, Nixon's boat was only one place ahead of Lee, 7th and 8th. Spinnakers aloft, the sleek Sydney Flyer went away from the Queenslander, whilst up ahead there was a surprise leader, Tony Scaley in 2-Day FM. But Chesty Bond, a brilliant boat in light airs, thrived on today's squally 15-knot winds. She passed 2GB on the Spinnaker run and going into the next mark chose a different tack, a tricky manoeuvre which paid off as Barnabas got clear air and moved past Corinthian Doors and Entrad into second spot. From then on it was just a matter of how far as Chesty Bond went on to win by 1:38 seconds, subject to protest. Colorbond New South Wales finished 9th and, nipping at her heels, Colorbond Queensland was 10th. Meanwhile, most America's Cup contenders are already in Fremantle, preparing for next year's challenge.
Barnabas notching up his second win of the series in Chesty Bond. Entrad's second placing gives Brown a narrow 1.3 lead.
A moderate 10 to 15 knot northeasterly once again provided competitors with a challenge. Peter Sorensen in Foster's never found his form in today's third race and finished 7th. Nutrimetics with lady skipper Vanessa Dudley continued to find the going tough. Trevor Barnabas in Chesty Bond handled the conditions best today and was the skiff to catch. Entrad finished 1:38 seconds behind Chesty Bond, but the second placing gave Rob Brown the series lead. Stubbies from New South Wales, who impressed in Monday's second race, finished out of a placing today. Chesty Bond took the lead at the 5th mark at the end of the Spinnaker leg, and Entrad had to be content with second, and Today FM, sailed by Tony Scaley, finished a good third.
Those results are pending a protest. Still on the water in America's...
There's no major collisions where boats get cut in half. I think like that. It's all pretty...
Think pink. That's the name of the game out there on the harbour all summer. Win as many races as you can for your sponsor and make sure you get him as much publicity and exposure as you can too. Last year, Nutrimetics, a cosmetics company, had an all-girl crew. They tried their hardest, but they spent a great part of the summer swimming in the harbour. So, this time around, there's Vanessa Dudley, still the skipper, with her 2-man crew, Graham Turner and Mike Wilson. While Vanessa tested the sponsor's products, it was left to the guys to do most of the rigging as they prepared for the launch this week. Not that Vanessa will be dragging the chain once the season swings underway. She's been a champion sailor since winning the World Junior Championship in the Moths back in 1975. And she doesn't anticipate any problems running a male crew.
I thought there'd be more resistance than there is, actually. I'm not a real bossy type. They know what they're doing and I leave them to it. On the boat, I'm holding the tiller, so it doesn't matter what they say, I'm the one with the final say.
Back in the old days, when the 18s were a lot more bulky and cumbersome than they are today, it would have been unthinkable to have a woman on board, let alone at the tiller. The battles out on Sydney Harbour back then were legendary and wild, but today there's not much room on board for a mutiny.
Over the years, there have been a lot of punch-ups on 18s, not only between rival crews, but also between people on the same boat, so hopefully we won't come to blows.
They wouldn't hit a woman anyway, would they?
I'd hit them back.
The pink theme runs right through the boat, even down to her anodised spars. As Vanessa says, it's just what the sponsor ordered.
It's pink for girls, that's definitely the idea, but I've made a concession. They've got blue wetsuits with pink stripes, where I've got a pink wetsuit with blue stripes. So we're playing on the pink for girls, blue for boys idea.
And how do the guys feel? Are they worried about being bossed around by a girl?
No, I guess on the water we're all sailors, so, you know, I think it'll be fine. I'm not bothered by it at all.
And so it was time for the bubbly. Some amused male bystanders looked on, and then the launch as the Pink Lady hit the water. With her pink spinnaker flying, she'll present one of the most colourful sights on Sydney Harbour this summer. In fact, you might say this young lady is in the pink.
In the pink, Vanessa Dudley and Nutrimetics.
They're in the West for the world title starting tomorrow on the Swan River.